Good evening, my mysterious Mayasaurus. I love the story in Zenless, and I'm heartbroken. So much of the community seems to hate it. It's not like the lore theory crafters are quiet about how bonkers things get. The ZZZ dev talk promises more AI plotline, and I need to get the rest of my predictions out before anything is revealed. This video was supposed to be an EOS deep dive and comparing the quotes from the Faith and Myth to the Faith and In-Game. I didn't expect to start writing a whole part 2 for my previous video. I understand the general sentiments about Zenless is that the story is bad, but I feel most people are missing the forest for the trees. Every clue to solve the mysteries surrounding Fairy and friends are in the game already. As always, we must look for the things hiding in plain sight, so inconspicuously, we just don't question it. I kept looking, I kept finding. I took the advice plastered around the game. Open your eyes so you can see. This is another hear me out. Nicole has been arche the whole time. I wish I noticed it sooner. I should probably introduce myself. I'm Booby. I make lore and theory videos, usually on ZZZ, but sometimes for the other Hoyo games. I hate Wikipedia research. It's plaguing YouTube. The amount of times I have seen theories that prove someone has never read past a Wikipedia article is stressful. Anyone who says eridu is inspired by Eridanus or EOS is inspired by EOS the Titan moon goddess, we know they did not read the Faith and Myths. It's clearly taking from Ovid's version in Metamorphoses, where Phaethon falls into the river Po. There's an ethereal named Nineveh as well. Like, it has to be based on like the actual location Eridu. In Nineveh, there was the most preserved version of the Eridu creation myth, and the lore teaser is the bit Missouri with a few words changed. It's an incantation to invoke spirits found in the library of Ashurbanipal at Nineveh. So we know the narrators of the lore teaser are trying to get these characters to show up while modifying the Internet Deep database. Now, there is no way they're not playable, and we're getting to the grand reveal about them. We can dig deeper into these stories and extract mountains of information about them already. That is what I like to do. I am also going to be a pill. We must go over the original text. Like I said, I hate Wikipedia research. It's insulting to the audience, fellow content creators, and yourself. So let's just get into it. I promise to explain anything confusing or disembodied. We get many interesting clues of what the true story is, but the illusion of a simple story is easier to accept. Easing into the references with classic films, and we can work our way into the literature. The writers are inspired by films, not just for the blockbuster dupe that Bell and Wise run called Random Play, but for Zenless, they clearly set out to write a story with just as many mysteries to have fun speculating on. There is no work to be done when we take things at face value. The 3 movies we see the most references to throughout the game affirm this. It is always easier to turn your brain off and not understand. It asks us the same questions the protagonists are asked in each of these films. The illusion must be shattered to find the truth in each as well. Did you open your eyes so you can see? Nicole's briefcase gives us the answer we need to see all of the clues. They are all hiding in plain sight. We must open our eyes. The 3 movies I find ZZZ taking the most inspiration from and combining to make new rules for the world building are The Matrix, Tenet, and Inception. I love lists, so quickly in no particular order, let's go through the Easter eggs that they use as clues for the actual story. The Matrix has the first reference. The TVs in the opening scene and the cunning hairs running down the hallway are a clear reference to going down the rabbit hole into this fabricated, simulated universe. We also see the Monica posters, and anywhere we see her is with a red dress. She is the woman in the red dress. In the video store, we see the red pills and blue pills. The posters in Phylum Heights have a red bottle and blue bottle on them as well. In the tower, we meet the Trailblazer, and the whole scene is a reference to the red pill, blue pill scene. There's also Wise's clues around the bullet shoe, which is a clear reference to bullet time. I think we'll have a lore-heavy event before we get this in the main story because the tower is optional. We already have the battery event showing the copper tops to indicate the characters are still unaware of the simulation aspect. The tenet references show up as shipping containers that match the ones that are on the boat in the movie, and on the reverse characters showing up in the opening scenes. The text about them at night when you're looking at the other siblings' room also shows that there is something very suspicious going on in the evenings on 6th Street. We cannot deny the fact that fairy is an algorithm inside of a strong box, and the algorithm is in the first scene. That's literally what they are doing in the first scene. And they make a joke about it becoming important later, exactly how they do in ZZZ when they get fairy. Be so for real. I do not believe the Inception references could be any more obvious than the current Yadhari permanent event. In the lore teaser, one of the narrators says, "Go to sleep now and wait until someone can wake you up." In the opening scene, Belle is asleep and we see going deeper into the simulation with the virtual reality. Another layer of reality instead of another layer of dreams in the storytelling. Specifically with Virtual Revenge, we see them going into VR, waking up, taking the headset off, but still technically being in the VR simulated universe. Like, there was a whole special episode about it. I could yap about it all day, so I'll cut it off here. Let me know what Easter eggs and references you noticed. I hope I can show you the mirror between ZZZ and the films that heavily inspired it. I also hope to show you how wild my analysis has actually been. We have a lot of reveals to look forward to and a lot of plot lines that are about to come to a head. I love to predict reveals and plot twists before they happen, especially in live service stories. I don't care if it's a movie, show, game, or comic. If there is a twist or reveal, I want to guess it way before the average consumer does. As a human with an ego, I would like to stroke it. And by being correct or having good analysis, I can do that. So let me show you exactly what I see. We are using Wise as an example and to explain because last time I focused on Belle as the example. To recap what is going on with these four. Each of the AI has a human counterpart they are modeled after, and each of these characters has a normal forward version, a rewind, and a previous era version. Because of the time loop shenanigans, we get a neat 4x4 square. We are working with the simulation being on tapes, and any way of time travel or foreshadowing of that time travel will be a reference to the act of modifying the simulation, and at the specific point down the line of this fabrication, they did it. Now, for Fairy, we know that she uses the magnetic drum and the heads to edit the magnetic film on a VHS tape. Ginny is capturing the truth and presenting it or uploading it as is with the color film as their medium. Ghost hacks into the simulation, gets through the firewall, disguising themselves the same way the viruses do in the Roaming the Ether event. Yukai goes early route, and we see the editing happen on black and white film with a flatbed like the one in the picture. We know Ginny is an AI modeled after Wise because the foreshadowing. They show us on the loading screen. I mean, it's everywhere, hiding in plain sight, but we can quickly analyze the nihility preview so you know I'm not reaching. First, we see the single cell and then it duplicates. We also see this in the lore teaser, so we know that this is connected to the AI plotline. Next, we see the tower, and we know this is important because the sticky notes in Random Play show a red dot on top of the tower. We meet an AI modeled after Joyous in the tower endgame, and it is not a coincidence. We see the red circle flashing awake as this box is flying through the sky. Please, it is on fire like the Faith in myth. Finally, we know that Wise says Ginny in the prologue cutscene when they get Fairy. We also get a mountain of foreshadowing that Wise is successful in getting Ginny and then gains the ability to rewind. This is bonkers, but bear with me. the first cutscene that you see when you open the game, Wise is carrying the color tapes and Belle is sleeping on their couch listening to music. Whatever he is doing, it is going to be related to the color tapes in some way. I believe he is most frequently shown as the person holding the camera on the news. It's just so suspicious. How does this person always know what is actually going on, what the real story is? In the prologue, we see that the person holding the camera for the news is focused on the hollow consuming the building that the cunning hares are in. The real story is the strongbox. It immediately cuts to Bringer. Next, in chapter 1, we see the person holding the camera for the news reporter is focused on the tunnel the cunning hares will emerge from with the people of Canvas Street. We must remember hindsight is 2020. How could they know that that is where the real story is taking place? The news should have been showing Perlman's demonstration and presentation about that demolition project. In chapter 3, it happens again. The news is focused on the airship, not the reporter who is off to the side, yelling into the distance. By chapter 5, the news reporter is sick of whatever the person holding the camera is doing. They sneak into an area controlled by Belobog, and the person holding the camera for the news is focused on the hollow outside of Port Elpis. The reporter even says, "Do you know about the connection between the hollow and today's report? Come on." How could they know? It happens again in astronomical moment. During the press event with the news, at no point does Astra disclose that this concert would be a tribute to Euron de Winter. Now, you could make an educated guess, but when Astra is asked about the concert being a tribute, she sees the person who asked and says, "That's a sneaky question." We know Astra has been focused on the Holy Sword and the prophecy. It's all a little too convenient. If anyone would know about the time travel stuff, I think it would be Astra because she is so high up in tops. I'm sure the people who are creating it in tops are probably going to use it for ridiculous reasons, like a private Astra concert. It's just also suspicious. We can meaningfully predict what will happen when we analyze the literature and media used as inspiration for Wise, specifically looking at where the writers are taking from the story and where they're choosing to subvert expectations. I pulled some important quotes to show you exactly what I mean. The first, more obvious quote to look at is from the Phaethon myth in Ovid's Metamorphoses. But Phaethon, with his auburn hair aflame, whirls downwards through the sky in one long track, just as a star appears to fall, although it does not fall, from tranquil heaven. Across the world from where he came, the great Poe takes him in and washes his singed face. His corpse, still smoking from the three-forked flame, is buried by the western naiads who inscribed the epitaph, "Phaethon, who drove his father's chariot, lies here. He failed, yet died from great endeavors." The other translation of this myth has the version of the epitaph that you are probably more familiar with. This is the one we see in the game. Now we know it's their name, they are Phaethon, and the only version that the writers have pulled from is Ovid's version in Metamorphoses. Because of its connection to the other pieces of literature, we know that we are on the right track. We don't need to know too much analysis or, really talk about anything beyond they're on fire as they fall, and Ovid speaks directly to Phaethon after he has passed away. Now, the second quote comes from Persiles de Sigismunda, which is Cervantes' final work, which was published in 1617. It says, "Periander, impelled by his generous feelings, instantly went in In a few minutes, they saw him on the top of the tower, engaged with the seeming madman, for whom he had taken a knife and was trying to defend himself, but fate had determined that the tragedy of the man's life should end here, and both fell together from the height on the ground below. The madman had stabbed himself with the knife that Periander held, and Periander's eyes, nose, and mouth were streaming with blood, for as he had no petticoats to sustain him, the fall took its effect, and he lay lifeless upon the earth. Orestella, seeing him thus, immediately supposed him dead. She threw herself upon his body, and without caring who saw her. We know this is the inspiration for Belle and Wise. I did a deep dive on it, but the biggest tell was Quixie's importance to the story. You can complain about the implications, but they exist in ZZZ as well. We know that Belle and Wise must be separated, so Wise can escape death a few times, but the most important is the fall from the tower. In Persiles of Sigismunda, Periander survives the fall because Arnaldo shows up and helps him. We must remember, Sarah is taking the role of Arnaldo in most of the retellings from the book, to the point where she is currently with Xu Yan. How much more obvious can they make it? Does she need to start trying to marry Belle? Okay, so he has his transformation after falling from the tower, and we know that Wise will also have a transformation after falling from the tower. The subversion is it's not from the sky. We know exactly where this is going to happen. We even have a quote to connect the movie to the literature used as inspiration. In Tenet, they pull from Whitman's Leaves of Grass. They even make a joke when a character misquotes it in the movie. We know that when they say they live in a twilight world, they are referencing the Twilight song, which is for the fallen soldiers with no names. The protagonist does not have a name and dies before he can move on into this twilight world. The protagonist is clearly a fan of Whitman to know that that was a misquote and to make that kind of joke about it. We can go a step further and find the poem that the writers of ZZZ are using from Whitman's Leaves of Grass. It's called I See the Plowman Plowing. As I watched the plowman plowing, or the sower sowing in the fields, or the harvester harvesting, I saw there too, O life and death, your analogies. Life is the tillage, and death is the harvest according. We know this to be true because of the constant use of this plowman imagery. This is the old way of saying a Joe Schmo or everyman. It's more poetic and earnest in its description of everyday life, though. For the characters in New Eridu, they must do what they can to get by. In the face of the apocalypse, the plowman still plows. I mean, they use Piers Plowman as the inspiration for Mockingbird. I think this is crucial in understanding the use of the everyman in ZZZ. For Wise, the everyman means being the one to fall. It is his duty to the story, his work to be done. It subverts expectations with the use of simulating reality, and it's another moment of irony. The dynamic is a reference to the reboot that must happen for Belle and Wise to actually save New Eridu. They must fail before they can succeed. It goes into the Matrix reference with Neo being the one and the prophecy, like Belle and Wise get the prophecy. We must recall that the oracle says, maybe in your next life you'll be the one. Do you see how interesting the thought map built like the ZZZ story is? It's insane how many references and how much world building goes into creating a story that is so simple on the surface. The commentary on society might be the strongest thing about it. At the end of the world, we will keep doing what we do. Life will continue as normal until it doesn't. We know 4 characters are working to prevent the disaster that would result in everyday life ceasing in New Eridu. They must do what they have done because what will happen has already happened. We know they succeed because we're watching their story kind of vibes. We also know Hoyo has its own tropes and character archetypes that they like to work into every one of their games. We can see these next 2 very clearly. We know that Belle and Wise are one half of the 4 characters, and after some analysis, we did figure out that Rain and Nicole are the other 2 characters. I hate to burst everyone's bubble, but the Pink Jesus character is already in game and you already love her. You cannot tell me she is not her own complete character while also being a variant. It's obvious that no character has been forgotten in terms of building them up. You know, like, it should only enrich your understanding of the character and prove the variant thing is cool when it's well done. It also confirms one of the characters being playable and gives us a huge nugget of information about what her kit will look like. Okay, I'm just gonna spoil it. It's Rain. I know what you're thinking. No, there's no way it could possibly be Rain. I hear you. I hear you. But we have to address the difference in appearance first, and then we can move on because the rest of it is not as bonkers. Why does Rain have normal ears and no wings? Well, she cannot always fool the simulation. We see her eyes cannot change completely. They must always have that look to them, not the white pupils, pink irises, but the actual like color and shapes within their eyes. It has to be the same. We also know that the viruses in the Roaming the Ether event will commonly change how they look. I mean, just look at this frame of Rain, okay? The lines on the ground frame her so she looks like she has the wings. We see Rain interact with the military equipment, and we know the leader of the falkenhayne mercenary troupe was one of the people who would develop equipment specifically for the defense force. We see it in side missions multiple times. Rain's tie also has a butterfly on it, and the falkenhayne mercenary troop leader has a bow in the exact same spot, knowing that the butterfly represents transformation. We don't have to look too deep into it. We can even see the similar color schemes when they are inverted. The only way to process film is to take the negatives and alter them. This is a reference to this process. We cannot deny that the short pink hair with the veil, Rain is wearing a hood. The hood represents the veil and the symbolism. Can we be so for real right now? The next one broke my brain. Now, we have enough evidence that they are in some form of a simulation. Could you take a wild guess what the dark wall is? It's a firewall. Yippee! And we know that either way, Rain, Ghost, and the leader of the falkenhayne mercenary troop have to deal with some kind of wall. The Internaut Deep database, doesn't it feel like the Internaut might be connected to something facilitating the simulation? I mean, hear me out, it's not so bonkers, but we won't know until the lore about the creator is revealed. I cannot wait. Chewing my nails off type of waiting. We have a relevant quote from Ovid's Metamorphoses for Rain being connected to both Zeus and Jesus, okay? The god sat high in the marble hall, then Jove, seated on high, leaned on his ivory scepter and shook his dreadful hair 3 times, then 4, causing the earth and the seas and stars to quake. He opened his indignant mouth and spoke. I was not this concerned about the world's dominion during that upheaval when each serpent-footed giant braced himself to hurl his 100 hands on captive heaven. The enemy was fierce, and yet that war came from a single group and single cause. But now, wherever Nereus roars through the earth, I must wipe out the human race. I swear on those infernal streams that wash the grove of Styx. When a disease cannot be healed, despite all treatment, you must cut it out, or else the healthy part will get infected. I have to think about my demigods and country deities, the nymphs and fauns and satyrs and the mountain-dwelling sylvans, whom we don't yet think merit heaven's honor. Let's let them dwell upon the lands we're given. Or gods, do you think they'll be safe when lately Lycon, known for his ferocity, schemed against me? Your lord who wields the lightning. Roaring with the fiery zeal, they all demand the one who dared such things. When we really examine what is going on in the Council of Gods, we see that the labor Zeus must constantly work at is to protect humanity and divinity. This is the proverbial field he must sow. This is mirrored in the other reference to the pink one who sacrifices herself. Actually, 2 Bible quotes. The first one, "Ask and it will be given to you. Seek and you will find. Knock and the door will be opened to you. For everyone who asks receives. The one who seeks finds. And the one who knocks, the door will be opened." If I'm not going bonkers, that's from the book of Matthew. The next quote is going to be from the Thessalonians, the first letter from the 13 epistles. There isn't much to say beyond the writers specifically go into the 13 epistles for research. It shows up multiple times through the game, and they seem to make a lot of references to it because it is some letters that are very strongly worded. It says, "For we believe that Jesus died and rose again, and so we believe that God will bring the Jesus those who have fallen asleep in him." Going back to the Matrix, this quote kind of ties it all together. Now that we know that one character must sacrifice themselves for the simulation, it is most likely a character connected to a scepter in the literature as inspiration, and because of the archetype we get from the Honkai games. I mean, Amphorius is literally a scepter. This next part is wacky as hell. The only person who even resembles the character that could be the forward version of Rain is Amby. Hear me out, it's going to make a little bit more sense when I show you, but again, I could be wrong. This does solve the paradox though, and it creates that whole clone of yourself situation, so I think it works out perfectly. We also know that it does not break any rules set up by the paradox in the story because Rain and Amby never interact directly. Amby was asleep the one time they got close. This has to be the Void Hunter she's a clone of as well. Okay, so we have come full circle. I must show you everything I see. The leader of the falkenhayne mercenary troupe has the same uneven bangs as Amby and Rain. The only difference is how they wear them. For Rain, she has them worn to conceal her face, while Amby wears hers to accentuate the difference and the asymmetry of them. We also see that the leader of the falkenhayne mercenary troupe has pupils with a diamond-like appearance. We see the diamond motif on Amby. On her silver soldier uniform, we see it on her headband, but all over her in both versions. Amby's headphones have the same split circle as Rain's logo. They both allude to Zeus and sacrifice in their own ways. For Amby, she sacrifices herself to save Soldier 11, and her element in both versions is electric. For Rain, she gives up a normal life. She must haunt the story and live in the shadows. Even the backpacks have similarities. Both of them write their name on it. Amby has the lightning bolt and Rain has the cloud with droplets. But it doesn't stop there. Amby's sword has the word nimbus on it, and this is a suffix that means clouds that rain. Okay, now we can even look at the poster for Rain's Phantom Hunt event. We see the outline of Amby on the art. I think I figured it out and put it all together, but to put the icing on the cake, Amby has the wings with a diamond on the waistline of her uniform. Even going back to the symbol for the hacker white noise, it's the 2 half circles with headphones and a lightning bolt for a mouth. I don't think they could get any more obvious with some of these things, and I feel terrible that it took me so long to notice. Now, if you're still with me and you believe in this rewind time loop shenanigans, this next part is going to blow your mind. If not, you're gonna think I'm crazy. I believe Nicole is one of the rewind characters. We have not seen the original Nicole moving forward in the timeline yet. Her name in the game files is Nostradamus, and it would explain how she knows everything. In Anton's Trust event cutscene for Bonds of Destiny, Nicole is the Witch of 6th Street. She has black robes, and Anton calls her the Goddess of Fate. The more we look, the more suspicious things become. She has green eyes with a red dot and line going through them, similar to Belle and Wise, to show us that she has the Helios Academy eye implants. Her catchphrase is that fortune favors the fool. Now, I did a deep dive on this, so we know the real meaning behind it is fortune favors the one to take the first step. It is the first tarot card. Her shirt has a sword on it with a hourglass as the handguard. We know she loves films, but specifically ones from the old civilization about things that have actually happened. She loves documentaries. Are you seeing what I'm seeing? Her briefcase that can create a hollow out of nowhere, out of thin air, has the words "open your eyes so you can see" on it. And finally, we found it. In the Price of Hope trailer for Nicole, we see the black and white TV. She points up at the sun, and you know what the symbol on the Denny is? Oh, that's right, a star. What is the sun? It's a star. Are you seeing what I am seeing? And if you haven't already, she becomes Arche in the future when she travels back in time. What happens that she decides to create Helios Academy? It's absolutely bonkers. And when we talk about the BANGBOO, I'm gonna blow your mind about this again. I usually work forward, not backward, when I am doing my analysis. But this time, I decided to go straight to the prophecies of Nostradamus, specifically the 1st century, which is the first section of the book, and the first prediction. It's that his predictions will be correct, invoking the imagery of the oracle at Delphi sitting in the bronze tripod. We know that Nicole sits on the cardboard box outside random play in the exact same position to show us there are some subtle connections, foreshadowing, if you will. Sitting by night in my secret study, alone, resting upon a brazen stool, a slight flame breaking forth out of that solitude makes me utter what is not in vain to believe. Now, I believe there is a little bit of misdirection. Arche is called a him, but it could still be a her, specifically Nicole. We see this as most likely the case after going into the VR version of Yadari's dream. Things are inverted, like it would be inverted on film. We also know that the writers are comfortable doing that because they did it with Seed and they did it with the Exaltist Overseer. The connection between the hollows and the sun are clear once we see they are opposites in every part of the symbolism. Two sides of the same Denny, which has the star symbol on it. The sun is a star. Can they make it any more obvious that Nicole is actually Arche? Oh my goodness, they are going to do it with a reveal. I cannot wait, but I have a feeling we may be waiting like 5 years for like the exact words to happen. Now we have a direct connection between Nostradamus and Apollo. It goes deeper than that. During the Roaming the Ether event, Nicole brings Spacebar's laptop to random play for Belle and Wise to uncover its secrets. This event's story is a retelling of the Aneid. The most important god in the story of Aeneas in Ovid's Metamorphoses is Apollo. This is also the case in Virgil's epic poem, the Aeneid. It's so juicy, it goes even deeper. Then we get Dante's Divine Comedy references, and we all know it's the greatest fanfic of all time, specifically a reference to Virgil's The Aeneid. Bear with me, we have Beatrice in the form of Yadari, and Saint Lucy of Syracuse in the form of Lucia. Kind of bonkers. We even have the kid in Siloam Bay named Dante. Be so for real. This is such a funny way to go about referencing classic literature and making those connections. You know, none of this would have happened without Nicole taking the commission from Rain. all of it starts with Nicole. Kind of bonkers. We know it shows up in the faith and myth as well. Nicole wearing a black cape is supposed to remind us of the original Void Hunters, not just a witch costume. It's also drawing on the description of Apollo in purple robes from the original faith and myth. It says, when he climbed up that sloping path and entered his doubted parents' home, Cyclamen's son at once went forth into his father's presence, but stood far off. He could not bear the light at a closer range. Decked out in purple, Phoebus sat on a throne aglow with emeralds. Placed evenly around him were the day, the month, the year, the centuries, and the seasons. The words used to describe Apollo and the things around Apollo are really reminiscent of this unending work that must be done. We see this with Arche and Nicole. If Arche started during the founding of Eridu and is still in Hollow Zero, at some point they get out and they start moving through the timeline again. Why would Nicole go back? What are they trying to prevent? Every mystery solved has led to even bigger mysteries. Now, we know the sword on Nicole's shirt is a direct reference to Arche going into Hollow Zero to find the truth, which was later revealed to be a sword that could turn back time. I have my suspicions about who the forward version of Nicole could be, but every hint so far has told us that this is actually the rewind version of Arche. And I think they're saving both her Yukai version and her forward version for playable characters that we will be able to roll on, like banner characters. I also think they're going to save it for when the game needs to make money. The numbers are the only thing that will dictate when they drop a mysterious character in beta and use another character for the tests. My bet is that they will use A-rank Nicole and everyone will think it's just a new character that they don't want us to see, but it will be Nicole. They may also use Astra, but most likely Nicole. I also think we'll find her when we get deeper into the White Star Institute and Hollow Zero lore. It will most likely be dropped there first. The theme of 4 will continue to the original BANGBOO. We know the use of EOUS implies there will be 3 other original BANGBOO. We have foreshadowing for it everywhere. Aside from the name of BANGBOO 01 being EOUS, we see there's only 1 car in the parking lot behind random play. There are 4 parking spots. We also see 4 BANGBOO in the event wallpaper, showing us that there is a treasure hunt to find them. We know they go in opposite directions because the myth tells us. There are 2 quotes about the horses, and I will read both to you so we are on the same page. This first quote is describing what the horses are doing as Phaethon is taking the chariot to take the sun across the sky. Meanwhile, the sun's 4 flying horses, Aethon, Eos, Pyrois, and Phlegon, fill the air with the flaming nays and kick the bolts, which Tethys, ignorant to her own grandson's fate, flings aside. The vast sky is unlocked. This second quote is after Zeus hurls the lightning bolt at Phaethon and the horses are scattering without their chariot. The panicked horses leap in opposite directions, snatch their necks out of the yoke, and leave their shattered bridles. The reins lie here, and over the severed axle and elsewhere spokes from broken wheels. The mangled chariot is strewn all over, but Phaethon, with his auburn hair aflame, whirls downward through the sky in one long track, just as a star appears to fall. We know that Eos was so poetically named after the east, and the other 3 ponies pulling the chariot were named after the face-melting heat that Apollo felt every time he got in the chariot. To find the other 3 BANGBOO, we must look at the myth and the treasure map. The easy one is Snap sitting in a trash can. This is supposed to be Sage in a Barrel. Now, we know and love the Sage in the Barrel because we got to go around collecting the HIA commemorative coins, And we know they are collecting it for some strange reason, most likely a BANGBOO driven one, like collecting coins for the Denny guns. And we know that this is possible because we see the Denny guns show up in Hollow Zero as one of the toys, and we see it show up with the 2.2 story with Dante and Isolde. There's also the reference to the barrel, which could be a double entendre, meaning the barrel of a gun, and you know it goes back to the leader of the falkenhayne mercenary troupe character conglomerate with Amby and Rain. Be so for real. Even Seed has a line about it. She says, "It's raining shells." We can even guess the animations for this BANGBOO if this is really happening. It will probably knock the trash can over and roll the lid to make the Jesus reference and the resurrection, and a mention to Ghost being the AI that is connected to that character conglomerate. The next BANGBOO we must find is a million sitting on top of the BANGBOO car. How many times will they hide things in plain sight? A million is one of the original BANGBOO. I believe he is 02, especially because he has the 2 stripes on him in every iteration. We have one very interesting piece of lore about a million that is easily overlooked. When the HDD takes a call and it is sound only, we get the repeating pattern of a million, not EOUS. We can confirm this with the similarities in the stitching on a million and EOUS. They have the same crosshatch or like cross stitch kind of pattern, and they have the same like straight stitching pattern. The next BANGBOO we must look for is the one represented by Sharkboo looking into the water. We know that this is most closely resembling the fall of Phaethon. I mean, he falls into the river Po, the BANGBOO is looking into the water. I think this is a clue, and the only BANGBOO that we see that even kind of resembles this storyline is 7710, or the leader of the spiral flutists. We also know that this is most possible because if a BANGBOO does have any problems, it becomes corrupted, has an issue, it will do the most evil thing it possibly can. And for this BANGBOO, it believes uploading it to the hive mind is the most evil thing. Come on, it has to be foreshadowing that they are literally fighting back on the simulation and whatever it entails for the people outside of it. Now, I have been trying to figure out exactly why this character from Virtual Revenge, who talks about Phaethon with the red hair and the spiky teeth, why are they so important? Well, this is why. This has to be the rewind version of Wise after seeing everything. The cover for the internet post must be foreshadowing for them being the lost owner now that we know the whole story of 7710. It's all a little too suspicious. The connections to the water go one step deeper. They were last seen in Port Elpis Hollow, and they described themselves as the Sea of Homecoming, possibly a reference to falling into the water at some point, rewriting their story in a way that a BANGBOO would. Congratulations! You made it to the end of the video. Thank you so much for watching. I would love to know all of your thoughts. Tell me, am I onto something? Am I going absolutely bonkers with the lore? Again, thank you for watching. Have a wonderful evening.